many of you have been noticing that the biotechs have been moving? How many of you have been realizing that the biotechs have been moving? Anybody want to say yes, they do know that? Over the last couple of weeks, the bio companies have been moving. So I wanted to keep my eye on some of them that were moving up. I didn't want to pay attention to the ones that were moving down, but the ones that were moving up, I wanted to take a look at them, all right? So healthcare top 5 gainers. I've got these stocks in my watch list. Let's go take a look at them. NLTX, let's go find it. NLTX, let's go find CDMO. CDMO right there, let me move this over a little bit. So I'm looking at some popular stocks that are moving up in the drug biomedical field. KNSA, EQ. Where's EQ? There's EQ and ITRM. All right, let's take a look at these real quick. It's hard to really peg pharmaceuticals. Most of them are going to be overvalued. Excuse me, a lot of that is because there's a lot of stuff that goes into research and development for these drugs. They put a lot of money behind it, and people anticipate that the drug is going to work, so they are willing to pay a premium to own the stock. So most pharmaceutical drugs that you will find in the company will exhibit those characteristics of being overvalued. So NLTX, overvalued. CDMO, overvalued. KNSA, overvalued. Equillium, overvalued. And here's one that's undervalued. Actually, ITRM. All right, so let's go take a deeper look. Excuse me. And ARQL, I'll keep my eye on that as well. Remember, all of the stocks that I'm looking at are stocks that have made the news for one reason or another, and I'm also looking at the stocks that are in that industry. All right, RV on the stock. Wow. NLTX, not a good long-term play. RV, the upside potential as compared to a AAA corporate bond, not there. CDMO, not there. KNSA, not there. All of the stocks long-term, and that makes sense when it comes to the pharmaceutical companies. All of the upside potential on these stocks is not there. These are not stocks that you want to hold long-term. I'm going to bypass the safety because both on those, they're going to be below 1 as well. What am I most in looking at as far as when it comes down to pharmaceuticals? If they're in an uptrend. So NLTX, 2, pegged as high as it can go. It's moving as fast as it can in the software. How about CDMO, 1.73, KNSA, 1.83, EQ, 1.32, but ITRM not moving up nearly as fast as the other ones. Look at the earnings. Negative earnings, but growing their earnings at 5%. Just barely making earnings positive as CDMO, but they're growing their earnings, interestingly, at 28% a year. KNSA, negative earnings, and they're growing it in a negative fashion. EQ, negative earnings, growing it in a negative fashion. ITRM, negative earnings, growing it in a negative fashion. A lot of this, what you see, is germane to what goes on with biopharmaceutical stocks. A lot of it is based off of what the FDA is going to say or not say in approving the drug. Good afternoon, Marie. Glad that you're here. All right, let's right-click. Let's view the stock graph. Let's take a look at these graphs real quick. Put this on a 3-month graph. Nobody's asking me why do I look at a 3-month graph. I always look at a quarter on the graph. The last 3 months, that gives me more than enough information that I need to look at. NLTX, look at the big pops. Look at the give back with a big wick at the top of the graph or the top of this candle, pulling back right now. Be careful with a stock like that. But overall, what is it doing? Moving up. What did it do for 4 days, 5 days? Pulled back and started going back up again. The industry is hot. CDMO, moving up above the 20-day exponential moving average. How about they just went positive in earnings? That may not be a bad play. But today, look at the big wick at the top. A lot of selling pressure on CDMO today. Looking at KNSA, got to a point almost of positive earnings, pulled back a little bit more, retracing from a level of resistance, but still above the 20-day exponential moving average. Next one, EQ, above the moving average, closed green candle today, not the right day to buy. And if you're going to look at buying into any of these stocks, make sure that they take out their swing highs. Looking at all of this, even though they've made the news, make sure that if you're going to get into them now, make sure you get into them after they've taken out the swing highs. The last one, ITRM, not nearly as comfortable with this as I am with the other ones. Recently went above. Why? Because the industry was starting to pull them up, right? Industry was starting to pull them up. Now, that's the stocks. I took this a step further, and I looked at the industries to track these by way of an ETF. First ETF is LABU. It's a triple leverage ETF. And my next one was XBI. That is the Spiders Biotech non-leverage to track or play these stocks. Let's go look at the stock graph. So LABU, which tracks all of the biotech stocks in one ticker symbol or one ETF, look at that. Put this on a 3-month graph. This is the easier, non-riskier way to play the whole industry. Now, this is a triple leverage ETF though. As it's going up, you're making a lot of money. If it pulls back and you're on the wrong side of it, you're going to lose a lot of money real fast. Even though it was moving up, what is it doing right now? That industry is pulling back a little bit, still above the 20-day exponential moving average, but pulling back a little bit. If you're still holding these stocks, wait, let it come to you. If you're not, wait before you go and buy any new shares. And the next one is on the XBI, which is the non-leverage biotech sector as an ETF. Doing the same thing as the triple leverage. So even though they were moving, you saw a lot of these stocks had not a good time to get into them. I'm bringing up the industry or the stocks that were moving, but I'm keeping you on top of. Maybe it might have been, might be time for you to think about taking half off the table or pulling the trades off. All right, so that was to go along with the nice movement on these bio stocks. Anybody else? Anybody have any questions about this? So Jake asked, why do I look at a 3-month graph? Again, it's because I always like to look at least a quarter of each stock. Why? What happens every quarter? Stocks report earnings. So when I look at a 3-month graph, I'm looking at the earnings already incorporated in the graph. That's why I look back 3 months. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. Now, if you're new to the software or would like refresher information about the software, click on this Getting Started video right here. Thanks to all of your input, here's a YouTube video that we think would be perfect for you. Click right here. If nothing else, folks, just hit the subscribe button right here.